Young and the Restless. Kane and Phyllis spark terror in Genoa City. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is having a nice day before we begin the video. Please subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. Young and the Restless sees Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, and Phyllis Summers Michelle Stafford, both determined to get what they want, no matter what lengths they have to go to, and soon they may realize they need to team up to do it. We're going to talk about how Kane and Phyllis might work together and wreak havoc on Genoa City. Young and the Restless. Kane's master plan, targeting Chancellor and beyond in Genoa City. So, as suspected, even before the big reveal, getting Chancellor away from Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, and Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, was one of Kane's main objectives. He tried playing nice with Victor. He even offered him all of his assets in exchange for Chancellor. And apparently, that's a great deal. Nick Newman Joshua Morrow said it was. But, Victor's not going to do it, even though Kane will be giving up far more than Chancellor's worth. But, very clearly Chancellor is important to Kane, likely because of Jill Abbott, Jess Walton, and Catherine Chancellor, Jean Cooper. Young and the Restless. Follies in France and grand grabs in Genoa City. And, of course, Victor shut Kane down, and then Amanda Sinclair, Miss Hale Morgan, was talking to him about his disappointment that Victor didn't say yes, but at the same time, he was also fully expecting it to go that way. So, I feel like Kane, like Victor, is a fan of chess, and he's probably several moves ahead. Kane probably has a bunch of irons in the fire, and at least one contingency plan that we already know about, maybe more. So, while he's got Victor, Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, and the others in France, Kane has somebody working for him back in GC buying up key commercial real estate properties. And it's pretty wild because it's Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, the supposed best friend of Damian Kane, Jermaine Rivers. Now, I wonder if, Kane's got this side deal going with Holden and has for a while, or maybe Kane reached out at the same time he fired Damian and made Holden an offer. Or he had Amanda set it up so that Holden wasn't really fired alongside Damian and he's been lying about it, and basically Kane just bought Holden's loyalties. I'm sure it was probably bothering Kane how close Damian got to Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, and that's probably why he got the axe. Adam's panic and Phyllis's ambitions. The shifting power dynamics in Young and the Restless. So, right now, back in town, Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, in a panic. He realized the new mogul in town is snapping up properties around the Abbott and Newman's businesses, which is a clear sign that Kane may be targeting not just Victor, but maybe also Jack. Or Kane could be buying up properties close to Newman and Jabot to throw Victor off his scent. And then we've got Phyllis on a mission to convince Kane to let her run Chancellor once he gets it back. But he told Phyllis this week his plans for Chancellor won't work out the way she sees. However, I suspect Phyllis might actually be able to change Kane's mind. Or maybe he comes up with a different plan, and he figures out he can leverage Phyllis to get what he wants more effectively. Lily's rejection and Phyllis's opportunity, a potential alliance and romance? So one thing Kane really wants aside from Chancellor is to win his ex-wife Lily back. She's 100% against that. Lily does not want Kane back. She thinks Kane is turning out just like his criminal father Colin Atkinson, Tristan Rogers. And let's be honest, after 6 years, Lily is well and truly over Kane Ashby and wants nothing to do with the man. Plus, Lily is getting closer and closer to Damian, and they get even closer very soon. So, once Kane finally sees that he's got no shot with Lily, at least not anytime soon, he may actually warm up to Phyllis. When she pitched her big Chancellor idea, Kane promised to sleep on it. So, he's keeping Phyllis on the line, and he may wind up using her personally and professionally. Phyllis's potential victory. Business and love on the horizon. So, official Young and the Restless spoilers straight from showrunner Josh Griffith say very soon Phyllis gets personal and professional victories. He said she will finally be on top in business and in love. So Kane may be the one that finally gives her the business when she's wanted for a while. And he also hops in and warms Phyllis's sheets, too. So, Kane and Phyllis are both single. They're not getting with the person they want to reunite with. In his case, it's Lily. In her case, it's Nick. So, no, they're not going to be each other's first choice romantically. So, it could start out as just business. then turns into a hookup, and then maybe later, Phyllis and Kane catch feelings for each other along the way. Kane is absolutely determined to get Chancellor from Victor no matter what. And Phyllis would love nothing more than to destroy Victor. You know, she still hates him for the awful things he's done in the past, all with good reason. Young and the Restless. Phyllis, the agent of chaos. Plus, Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, hired Phyllis at Chancellor, and then almost immediately, I think less than a week, Jill made him fire her, and that really annoyed Phyllis. And then Billy replaced Phyllis with Sally Spectra, Courtney Hope, at Abbott.com. So, you know, Phyllis would love to rub it in Billy's face that she and Kane took Chancellor back from Victor, and she's got what Billy wants most. Plus, let's be real, Phyllis is an agent of chaos. The impending mayhem in Genoa City, Kane and Phyllis unite. So no matter who Kane wants to target, I bet Phyllis is going to be down for it. So once everyone's back to Genoa City, we'll see what Kane does with all the real estate he snatched up while everybody was distracted by his big party and the whole Aristotle Dumas reveal. And by the time Adam makes it to France and shows up in the rail car to warn Victor, it may be too late. Kane may already have what he needs to force Victor's hand. I'm not sure how buying up local real estate matters for getting Chancellor, but you know, it's Josh Griffith writing it, so we get what we get, even if it's not great. Plus, Kane might have some other ideas on how to sideline Victor and get him out of the way. With this whole murder mystery coming up, we could see Kane frame Victor to cause problems on Young and the Restless. You know, Phyllis would probably be really happy to help with that after the whole Marco incident. And I'm wondering if Chancellor, Connor Floyd, is going to die because Connor Floyd has left YNR, ironically, to take Billy Flynn's old job over on Days of Our Lives playing Chad DiMera. And the guys kind of resemble each other. So it's a cute little swap. Young and the Restless, Phyllis rises? But let's face it, Phyllis has had a rough year or two, maybe 3. She faked her death to frame Diane Jenkins, Susan Walters, came out of that looking like an idiot. Her kids were mad. And then Jack married Diane anyway, and they're happy. And Phyllis has no man. She couldn't make things work with Billy personally or at work. And Nick's got his eyes on Sharon Newman, Sharon Case. So, you know, the work situation is equally bad for Phyllis. She's been fired, unhired. The last truly big legit business success that she had was with the Grand Phoenix. So, maybe it's time for her to rise from the ashes alongside Kane, and they unleash mayhem on all their mutual enemies in town. I would love to see Phyllis come out of her spiral with big plans and Kane there, and they're working together to make things happen. Young and the Restless. Kane and Phyllis flip Genoa City upside down? You know, I will say that the idea of Phyllis and Kane rising to power together is a bit scary. They're both pretty extreme when they feel things are justified. Together, though, I do think Phyllis and Kane could give the Newmans a serious run for their money. Billy may pay along the way as well. And Jack might be collateral damage if Phyllis takes aim at Diane as well. But if Kane thinks hooking up with Phyllis will make Lily jealous, I think he's not going to get what he wants in that arena. She might even wish Kane, you know, good luck with Phyllis because you're going to need it. And as for Kane taking revenge on Victor, that's something that Lily and Billy and Jack and half the town could get behind. So we'll see how many allies Kane has, or if he starts knocking things down one by one, and it's not just Victor he's after. But the mustache has pretty low likability in Genoa City these days. So once they start plotting together, Kane may realize he and Phyllis really work at work and at home, and, you know, we could see magic happen. These two could flip Genoa City upside down. Genoa City is no stranger to scandal, betrayal, and unexpected alliances, but the sudden pairing of Kane Ashby and Phyllis Summers has the entire town buzzing and trembling. As whispers ripple through the city's elite and working class alike, this unexpected duo is poised to ignite a storm that could shake every corner of the Newman, Abbott, and Chancellor empires. Their individual reputations for scheming are notorious, but together, they may become an unstoppable force that nobody saw coming. Phyllis has always been a woman of sharp instincts and fearless ambition, willing to bulldoze her way through anyone who stands between her and victory. She survived betrayals, engineered daring comebacks, and always found ways to land on her feet, even if it meant making powerful enemies along the way. Cain, on the other hand, has lived a life riddled with deception and second chances. He's fallen from grace and clawed his way back repeatedly, a man who knows how to charm his way out of impossible situations while keeping one eye fixed on his next power move. For weeks, both have been operating on the fringes of Genoa City society, nursing their grievances and plotting their next big plays. But now, sources close to the two suggest they've found common ground, a shared interest in destabilizing the status quo and reclaiming power in ways that could leave the city reeling. Behind closed doors at society, Cain and Phyllis have reportedly been spotted in intense conversations, their voices low but their expressions sharp with calculation. Observers couldn't help but notice the unmistakable air of conspiracy, the kind of quiet plotting that typically precedes Genoa City's most earth-shattering scandals. The speculation ranges from business takeovers to elaborate personal revenge schemes. Given Phyllis's fraught history with the Abbotts and her recent clashes with the Newmans, her motives may lie in shaking both family dynasties to their core. Cain, meanwhile, has long harbored resentment toward those who dismissed or betrayed him, and with Chancellor Industries always hanging in the balance, his ambitions may be far bigger than anyone realizes. The true terror comes from the fact that both Cain and Phyllis operate best in chaos. Separately, they can cause plenty of damage. Together, they could upend entire legacies. Imagine Phyllis leveraging her tech-savvy and insider knowledge to manipulate company infrastructures, while Cain exploits his charm and connections to infiltrate boardrooms and sway key allies. If these two are indeed working as a team, they could launch a multi-pronged assault that leaves Genoa City's power players scrambling. There's already talk of sudden shifts in company shares, unusual boardroom meetings, and unexplained tensions brewing within Newman Enterprises and Jabot. Could these be the first tremors of a seismic power play? For Nikki, Victor, Jack, and Jill, the possibility of a Cain-Phyllis alliance is nothing short of a nightmare. Victor Newman has spent decades fending off corporate vultures and family betrayals, but the cunning unpredictability of Phyllis combined with Cain's knack for slipping through the cracks could pose a unique challenge. Jack Abbott, who shares a complicated history with Phyllis, may find himself emotionally and strategically vulnerable if she decides to exploit their past. Meanwhile, Jill has always kept a close eye on Cain, wary of his scheming ways, but she may not be prepared for his next move if he's got Phyllis whispering in his ear. This alliance could also destabilize personal lives. Phyllis's involvement with Cain might raise eyebrows not just professionally, but romantically. Both have a history of complicated love entanglements that often overlap with their scheming. If their partnership crosses into personal territory, it could ignite jealousy, suspicion, and broken alliances across town. Just imagine Billy's reaction to Phyllis aligning with Cain, a man he's clashed with repeatedly. Or consider Lily's potential fury if she discovers her ex-husband teaming up with one of Genoa City's most notorious troublemakers. One particularly chilling theory circulating through the city's rumor mill suggests that Cain and Phyllis might be planning something so big that it could rewrite Genoa City's power structure entirely. With Phyllis's ability to hack, manipulate, and spin narratives, paired with Cain's history of corporate infiltration, they could potentially seize control of a major company or expose devastating secrets buried deep within family vaults. These are two people who thrive when others underestimate them, and Genoa City's biggest names may be making a fatal mistake if they dismiss this new alliance as a passing flirtation. Phyllis has been craving a comeback moment that would not only restore her position but make her untouchable. Her previous alliances often fizzled due to ego clashes or shifting loyalties, but Cain might represent something different, a co-conspirator who's just desperate enough, just daring enough, to go all in. Cain, meanwhile, has spent far too long on the sidelines watching others wield power he believes should have been his. Aligning with someone like Phyllis could give him the leverage he's been seeking to catapult himself back into the center of the game. The question now is who will strike first. Will Victor deploy his usual surveillance tactics to uncover their plot before it takes root? Will Jack confront Phyllis directly, hoping to appeal to some lingering sense of loyalty? Or will Jill quietly maneuver behind the scenes to neutralize Cain before he can make his move? In a city where betrayal is currency and power changes hands in the blink of an eye, The next few weeks could be explosive. Viewers can expect intense confrontations, shocking betrayals, and perhaps a devastating corporate coup. As Kane and Phyllis inch closer together, they'll either implode under the weight of their own egos or emerge as the most dangerous duo Genoa City has seen in years. Either way, terror may not be too strong a word for what Kane and Phyllis could be the match that lights a powder keg. Every major player, Victor, Nikki, Jack, Jill, Billy, Lily, and more, will be forced to choose sides, rethink strategies, and protect their empires as never before. And if Kane and Phyllis manage to keep their plans under wraps long enough, Genoa City may wake up one morning to find the world as they knew it has been turned completely upside down. The days that follow in Genoa City are thick with unease. Whispers circulate like wildfire through the hallways of Newman Enterprises, Jabot, and Chancellor Winters. It starts with little things: a sudden shift in board meeting schedules, encrypted emails sent at odd hours, unexpected visitors to the Grand Phoenix, and gradually snowballs into a sense of collective tension. Something is happening beneath the surface, and the city's elite can feel it in their bones. Phyllis has always been skilled at playing the long game. She knows better than to tip her hand too early. Kane, meanwhile, thrives in the shadows, slipping through conversations with a polished smile and just enough charm to disarm his opponents. Together, they begin laying the groundwork for a plot that could rattle the foundations of Genoa City's most powerful families. Behind closed doors, Phyllis begins to exploit her tech expertise. She starts digging into confidential files, tracking patterns in company records, and identifying weak links. She's always had a knack for finding vulnerabilities, and this time she's laser-focused on the intersections where the Newmans and Abbotts overlap. She knows that if she can destabilize the trust between these families, she can create chaos on a scale that benefits her and Kane in ways nobody would see coming. Kane, on the other hand, begins his campaign of quiet manipulation. He starts visiting old allies and rivals alike, testing the waters with carefully chosen words. His goal isn't to make outright deals just yet, it's to plant seeds of doubt and curiosity. He approaches people who have felt slighted by the current power structures, hinting at shifts on the horizon without giving away specifics. People like this love being in on a secret, and Kane is a master at dangling just enough information to keep them intrigued. The partnership between Kane and Phyllis is also evolving in private. Their late-night meetings become more intense, the air charged with both strategic energy and personal chemistry. They challenge each other, push each other, and revel in their shared thrill for risk. Phyllis finds in Kane someone who's willing to match her daring, someone who doesn't flinch when the stakes get high. Kane sees in Phyllis a brilliant, unpredictable partner who can outthink most of Genoa City's top strategists. Together, they're dangerous because they're united not by love or loyalty, but by ambition. And ambition in Genoa City has brought down titans before. Meanwhile, Victor Newman is the first to sense something is off. His instincts, sharpened by decades of corporate warfare, tell him that a storm is brewing. He begins instructing his security team to quietly monitor unusual activity, focusing especially on Phyllis, whose name has crossed his radar more than once in recent weeks. Victor doesn't underestimate her, and he certainly doesn't underestimate Kane's knack for slipping under the radar. Jack Abbott, too, begins noticing subtle shifts. A confidential document he left on his desk is suddenly misplaced and then reappears in perfect order. A board member he trusted suddenly starts questioning his leadership decisions in a way that feels orchestrated. Jack's mind goes to Phyllis almost immediately. Their history is layered with love, betrayal, respect, and frustration. He knows her patterns better than most, and something tells him she's up to something bigger than her usual personal drama. At Chancellor Winters, Jill is growing uneasy. Kane has been circling, making quiet visits, exchanging pleasantries with employees he hasn't spoken to in years. It feels too deliberate to be casual. She's seen him pull off slick moves before, and she's determined not to be caught off guard this time. She starts having her trusted advisors dig into Kane's recent activities, but she quickly realizes that he's been covering his tracks meticulously. It's as if he anticipated her scrutiny. As all of this builds, Phyllis decides to make her first bold move. She leaks a piece of misinformation. Nothing too explosive, just enough to sow discord between Newman Enterprises and Jabot. She anonymously feeds a rumor about an impending secret deal that pits one family against the other, knowing full well that once that kind of gossip starts, it's almost impossible to contain. Within days, Jack and Victor are locked in tense conversations, each unsure of the other's intentions. Board members panic, shareholders grow jittery, and alliances begin to fracture at the edges. Kane watches all of this unfold with a quiet, satisfied smile. This is exactly the kind of chaos they need. But this is just the beginning. Their true plan has yet to be unveiled, and as their confidence grows, so does the magnitude of their ambitions. Kane and Phyllis know they need a decisive strike, something so dramatic that it would shift the entire power balance overnight. They've started gathering intel on key Newman and Abbott assets, mapping out vulnerabilities like generals preparing for war. What they intend to do with that information remains their closely guarded secret, but those who've crossed their paths recently described the pair as almost electric, like two people on the brink of something monumental. Across Genoa City, people are starting to connect dots. Lily receives an anonymous tip warning her to watch Kane closely. Billy overhears whispers at society about Phyllis's late-night meetings. Nikki notices unusual financial transfers moving through holding accounts. One by one, the city's power players are realizing that something's happening, but nobody can quite piece it together. And that's exactly how Kane and Phyllis want it. Their reign of terror, if successful, could mark a turning point in Genoa City's history. Families could be torn apart, companies could crumble, and old alliances could be shattered beyond repair. The terror isn't just in their plotting. It's in the fact that nobody knows exactly what they're planning or when they'll strike. And in a place like Genoa City, uncertainty can be far more dangerous than any single act of betrayal. The tension in Genoa City reaches a boiling point as Kane and Phyllis prepare to move from quiet scheming to bold, public action. Weeks of careful planning, whispered meetings, and psychological manipulation have set the stage for something explosive. The power players of the city are circling each other warily, sensing danger but unsure where or when the first strike will fall. That uncertainty is Kane and Phyllis's greatest weapon. It begins with an elegant party, one of those high society events that bring together Genoa City's business elite under one glittering roof. Victor and Nikki host the soiree at the Newman Ranch, intending to project stability and strength in the face of recent rumors. The guest list is a who's who of the city's most influential figures: Jack Abbott, Jill Abbott, Billy, Lily, Devin, Abby, and several key board members from both Newman Enterprises and Jabot. Cameras flash, champagne flows, and beneath the polished smiles, Phyllis arrives fashionably late, making a calculated entrance in a striking gown that turns heads instantly. She knows exactly how to command attention, and all eyes follow her as she glides into the room. Kane follows moments later, impeccably dressed, exuding an air of confidence that unsettles those who know him best. The mere sight of the two of them arriving in close succession sends a ripple of whispers through the crowd. They don't need to announce their alliance. Their presence together speaks volumes. As the night unfolds, subtle disruptions begin to surface. A presentation intended to highlight Newman's quarterly successes suddenly malfunctions. The screen flickers, then flashes a series of mysterious numbers and encrypted messages before going dark entirely. Technicians scramble, Victor's jaw tightens, and Jack exchanges uneasy glances with his team. Phyllis watches from across the room, her lips curling into the faintest smile. She's been in the Newman system before. She knows exactly how to hit pressure points without leaving obvious fingerprints. Meanwhile, Kane works the room with smooth precision. He moves from group to group, dropping carefully chosen remarks that fan the flames of existing rivalries. To one Jabot board member, he hints at Newman's supposed secret acquisition plans. To a Newman executive, he suggests that Jack has been quietly courting their competitors. None of his statements are provable, but in a room filled with egos and power struggles, mere insinuation is enough to spark unease. The night takes a sharp turn when a leaked video begins circulating among guests' phones. It appears to show fragments of a conversation between Victor and Jack discussing a potential merger that would cut certain board members out of future profits. The authenticity of the video is questionable, but that hardly matters. Within minutes, allies turn suspicious, whispers escalate to heated exchanges, and the atmosphere at the party sours into chaos. Nikki tries to regain control, Victor barks orders at his security team, and Jack demands answers. But the damage is done. The seeds of distrust have sprouted in full view of everyone. Phyllis and Kane slip out quietly amid the commotion, their mission accomplished. They don't need to witness the fallout. They know it will ripple through Genoa City like shockwaves. By the next morning, the story of the disastrous Newman party is all anyone can talk about. Rumors of hacked presentations, insider betrayals, and leaked conversations dominate the headlines. Share prices fluctuate wildly, emergency board meetings are scheduled, and personal relationships fracture under the weight of suspicion. Victor is furious, launching a full-scale internal investigation to root out the culprit. Jack, equally incensed, begins digging into his own company's vulnerabilities. Jill suspects Kane's involvement, but has no concrete proof. Phyllis, as always, plays the innocent card in public, denying any involvement, expressing mock shock at the events, and positioning herself as a woman who just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Kane, for his part, remains a ghost, visible enough to stir speculation but slippery enough to avoid confrontation. Behind closed doors, Kane and Phyllis celebrate their victory with quiet satisfaction. This was only their opening salvo. The public disruption has achieved exactly what they wanted: chaos. Newman and Jabot are now locked in mutual suspicion, their leaders distracted by internal fires they need to put out. That distraction gives Kane and Phyllis the breathing room they need to prepare their next phase, a direct power grab that could change everything. Lily grows increasingly concerned as she begins connecting dots. She recognizes the subtle patterns of Kane's manipulations, the charm, the timing, the way chaos follows him like a shadow. She confronts him privately, demanding to know what he's up to, but Kane deflects with practiced ease. He reminds her of their shared history, tries to evoke old emotions, but Lily isn't as easily swayed as she once was. She leaves the conversation more suspicious than ever, determined to uncover the truth. Billy, meanwhile, is consumed with anger at the thought of Phyllis teaming up with Kane. He knows both of them too well to believe their alliance is harmless. He begins his own investigation, digging through digital footprints, reaching out to contacts, and quietly piecing together the puzzle. Billy's knack for uncovering secrets may prove to be a major obstacle for Kane and Phyllis, but whether he can act in time remains to be seen. The sense of terror in Genoa City is no longer abstract. It's real, palpable, and growing. Businesses are destabilized, friendships are fracturing, and power dynamics are shifting. Kane and Phyllis have proven that they can hit the city where it hurts without even showing their full hand. And that's what makes them truly dangerous. They've only just begun. In the days following the chaos at the Newman Ranch party, Genoa City feels like it's holding its breath. The city's power players have retreated into their corners, each scrambling to assess the damage, identify the culprits, and secure their own empires. But while Newman, Jabot, and Chancellor Winters are busy looking inward, Kane and Phyllis are already several steps ahead, quietly tightening their grip on the narrative. Phyllis takes advantage of the widespread confusion by inserting herself into key conversations across town. She positions herself as a helpful insider, someone who has been there and can offer advice to those who suddenly find themselves under scrutiny. Her sharp mind and quick tongue make her a compelling confidant, and she knows exactly which buttons to press to get people talking. Jack tries to keep her at arm's length, but old emotions resurface. Every time he looks at her, he remembers not just the betrayals, but the passion, the intensity, the history they share. Phyllis knows this, and she uses it like a weapon. Kane, meanwhile, works behind the scenes to manipulate corporate channels. He uses a series of dummy accounts to move funds, buy small stakes in key companies, and quietly acquire leverage that nobody notices at first glance. While the big players are distracted by their feud, Kane is building a financial web that could give him and Phyllis unprecedented influence if it goes undiscovered long enough. His strategy is as smooth as it is dangerous, an invisible coup unfolding beneath the surface. However, not everyone is blinded by the chaos. Billy Abbott grows more determined by the day to expose what's really happening. He starts digging deeper, tracing digital footprints, and following money trails that lead to unexpected places. Late one night, alone in his office, he uncovers a suspicious pattern, a cluster of transactions routed through shell companies with subtle ties to both Phyllis and Kane. The amounts are small enough to avoid alarms but structured in a way that suggests a larger plan. Billy realizes he stumbled onto something significant. At the same time, Lily receives an anonymous message containing a single image, a blurry photo of Kane and Phyllis in an intense late-night meeting at Society. The message reads, "They're working together. Watch your back." Lily's stomach sinks. She's been suspecting Kane for weeks, but seeing proof of his alliance with Phyllis makes the situation feel suddenly more dangerous. She knows how ruthless Phyllis can be and how manipulative Kane is when he sets his mind to combining forces, sends a chill down her spine. Jack's suspicions also deepen. He notices Phyllis lingering around Jabot more frequently, slipping into conversations that don't concern her, making veiled remarks about shifts and opportunities. When he confronts her directly, she deflects with practiced ease, using their complicated history as both shield and sword. Jack can't shake the feeling that she's hiding something monumental, but without concrete evidence, he's trapped in a dangerous stalemate, torn between lingering trust and growing alarm. Meanwhile, Victor takes a more aggressive approach. He quietly orders a full-scale digital security sweep across Newman Enterprises. What his team finds is unsettling. Traces of sophisticated infiltration that seem to have bypassed their usual defenses. While they can't yet trace it directly to Phyllis, Victor's instincts tell him she's involved. He begins mobilizing resources to strike back, not just defensively but offensively. The Newman patriarch has never been one to sit back and wait for his enemies to act. Kane and Phyllis, sensing that time may be running out before someone connects all the dots, accelerate their plans. They schedule a private meeting in a secluded location outside Genoa City, away from prying eyes and potential surveillance. There, they finalize the next stage of their operation, a move that could give them control over key assets in both Newman and Jabot simultaneously. If successful, their strike could upend decades of power dynamics in a single stroke. But Billy's discovery changes everything. Realizing the magnitude of what he's found, he reaches out to Lily and Jack, bringing them into his confidence. The three of them form a cautious alliance, united by their shared suspicion of Kane and Phyllis. Billy lays out the financial trail, Lily shows them the anonymous photo, and Jack adds his personal observations. Together, they begin piecing the puzzle together, and the picture that emerges is alarming. They decide to move carefully, knowing that confronting Kane and Phyllis too early could push them underground. Instead, they plan to set a trap, a controlled scenario designed to flesh out the duo's next move and catch them in the act. Billy volunteers to bait Kane, using their shared history and a carefully crafted story about a potential business opportunity that could tempt him into revealing his intentions. Lily agrees to monitor communications, while Jack uses his influence to quietly prepare Jabot for a potential internal breach. Unbeknownst to them, Kane and Phyllis are already watching. They've anticipated resistance and planted moles to feed them information from within Jabot and Newman. When Billy starts sniffing around too aggressively, Kane receives word almost immediately. Rather than panicking, he smiles. This is exactly the kind of challenge he enjoys, outsmarting his adversaries before they even realize they're being outmaneuvered. Phyllis shares his thrill. To them, it's not just business, it's a game, and they intend to win. The battle lines in Genoa City are being drawn. On one side, Kane and Phyllis, two cunning strategists united by ambition and thrill. On the other, a growing coalition of wary power players determined to protect their empires. What none of them fully realize is that the stakes are higher than ever. If Kane and Phyllis succeed in their next move, it won't just be a temporary disruption, it will be a permanent shift in the city's balance of power. The storm clouds hanging over Genoa City finally begin to break when Billy, Lily, and Jack put their carefully crafted trap into motion. They've spent days coordinating their moves, each taking on a role designed to lure Kane and Phyllis into exposing their scheme. The tension is palpable. Every conversation feels weighted. Every glance carries 1,000 unspoken questions. Everyone involved knows that one wrong move could send Kane and Phyllis underground for good, and if that happens, they may never get another chance to stop them. Billy takes the lead, knowing that Kane is more likely to engage with him than anyone else. He reaches out under the guise of proposing a lucrative business opportunity, something that would appeal to Kane's ego and ambition. Billy spins a story about a Jabot subsidiary that's on the verge of expansion and in need of a strategic investor. He makes it sound exclusive, secretive, and incredibly profitable, exactly the kind of bait that Kane has always found irresistible. Kane, true to form, takes the bait. He agrees to meet Billy privately, curious about the offer and eager to see how he might use it to further his own agenda. What he doesn't know is that Lily and Jack are already working behind the scenes, setting up surveillance and preparing to intercept communications linked to the meeting. For them, this is about gathering evidence, something tangible that can expose Kane and Phyllis once and for all. Phyllis, ever the strategist, senses there's more to this meeting than Billy is letting on. She warns Kane to be cautious, reminding him that Billy has always been unpredictable. Kane listens but remains confident. He's convinced he can outmaneuver Billy, just as he's done countless times before. What Kane doesn't realize is that Phyllis's instincts are sharper than his when it comes to emotional traps, and Billy, motivated by equal parts justice and personal vendetta, is laying one of the most intricate snares of his career. The meeting takes place at a quiet, upscale lounge on the outskirts of town, a neutral location far from the usual corporate battlegrounds of Newman, Jabot, and Chancellor Winters. Kane arrives with his usual smooth charm, wearing a tailored suit and carrying an air of confidence that borders on arrogance. Billy plays his part to perfection, greeting Kane like an old friend, offering drinks, and diving into the details of the supposed investment. As the conversation unfolds, Kane starts asking probing questions, details about the subsidiary's assets, its ownership structure, and potential vulnerabilities. Billy answers each one carefully, weaving just enough truth into the story to make it believable while strategically steering Kane toward revealing his own intentions. At one point, Kane lets slip a remark about leveraging tech assets for maximum disruption, a line that sets off alarm bells in Billy's mind. Lily, listening remotely, catches every word. Meanwhile, Phyllis isn't far away. She's monitoring the situation through encrypted messages, ready to intervene if she senses Kane is being cornered. Her paranoia kicks in when she notices irregular digital activity surrounding the meeting location. She realizes that Billy and Jack might be setting them up, and she moves quickly to warn Kane. She sends him a discreet signal, but Kane, too engrossed in his verbal sparring with Billy, misses it. Back at Jabot, Jack is coordinating quietly with trusted allies, preparing to act if they get the proof they need. His mind races through contingencies. He knows Phyllis well enough to understand that if they push too hard without ironclad evidence, she'll turn the tables and paint herself as the victim. Jack wants to be absolutely sure before making his move. Kane, growing more comfortable, lets his guard down. In a moment of overconfidence, he mentions the next phase of his plan with Phyllis, something about consolidating control over key assets before the old guard even knows what's happening. It's vague, but it's enough. Lily records the conversation in real time, ensuring that every word is preserved. Billy keeps his cool, not letting Kane sense that he's just given them a critical piece of evidence. Phyllis finally realizes something is wrong when Kane doesn't respond to her warning. She makes a bold move. She shows up at the lounge in person, slipping inside under the pretense of casually joining the meeting. Her sudden arrival throws Billy off momentarily, but he recovers quickly. The tension between the three of them is electric, years of personal history, rivalry, and distrust crackling in the air. Phyllis immediately tries to steer the conversation, deflecting Kane's earlier remarks and attempting to regain control. But Billy is sharper than she expected. He counters every evasive comment with carefully worded questions, forcing her into a verbal corner. Phyllis realizes too late that the walls are closing in, and Kane starts to sense that he's walked straight into a trap. As the meeting reaches its peak, Jack arrives quietly, positioning himself nearby with trusted associates. He doesn't confront them outright. He wants to hear more, to catch them fully in the act. Phyllis, sensing Jack's presence, shifts into defensive mode. Her eyes flash with that familiar fire, the one that's preceded some of Genoa City's most legendary confrontations. Lily's voice comes through Billy's earpiece. "We've got enough." Those 3 words hang heavy in the air. The trap has worked. Kane and Phyllis have been caught revealing more than they ever intended, and the evidence is now in the hands of some of their fiercest adversaries. What happens next will determine whether Kane and Phyllis's reign of terror ends in a dramatic takedown, or whether they find a way to twist the situation back in their favor, as they've done so many times before. One thing is certain: Genoa City is on the brink of a showdown unlike anything it's seen in years. As Genoa City buzzes with whispered conversations and suspicious glances, Kane and Phyllis continue to stir the pot in ways no one saw coming. Their sudden alliance has everyone on edge, from the powerful Newmans to the shrewd Abbotts. Phyllis, never one to shy away from chaos, has aligned herself with Kane for reasons no one can quite pin down yet, but the tension building around them is impossible to ignore. What started as a series of casual encounters and cryptic conversations has grown into something far more sinister. They've been seen behind closed doors at the Grand Phoenix, their faces serious, their voices low, as if they're plotting something explosive that could reshape the city's power dynamics. And while Kane has long been underestimated, those who know him best realize he's capable of cunning moves when pushed into a corner. Paired with Phyllis's relentless ambition, the duo is like a ticking time bomb waiting to explode in the center of Genoa City. Rumors are swirling that their alliance could be targeting multiple fronts at once. Some speculate they're looking to take down Chancellor Winters by exploiting weak points in the company's leadership. Others think they're setting their sights on the Newmans, using information Kane may have gathered during his past dealings to manipulate situations to their advantage. Then there's the theory that Phyllis has her own personal vendettas, ones she's been quietly nurturing for months, and Kane just happens to be the perfect accomplice. Whatever the truth may be, their unpredictable partnership has sent shockwaves through the city's elite. Every boardroom feels a little more dangerous, every party a little more tense, because no one can guess where the next blow might land. Adding to the unease is the fact that Kane has been keeping a surprisingly low profile since resurfacing in Genoa City. His reappearance was quiet, almost too quiet, as if he was waiting for the right moment to strike. When he unexpectedly crossed paths with Phyllis at Society, their chemistry was immediate. Not romantic, but something more potent: shared ambition and mutual understanding. Both know what it's like to be underestimated. Both have faced betrayal, loss, and exile from Genoa City's power circles. And now, both are ready to reclaim control, no matter who gets hurt in the process. The Abbotts are already wary. Jack, ever protective of Jabot and those he loves, has been keeping an eye on Phyllis since her last round of schemes. He senses trouble, but hasn't yet figured out the depth of the storm brewing. Over at Chancellor Winters, whispers about Kane's presence have unsettled Billy, Devon, and Lily. Kane's history with the Chancellor family runs deep, and while he's been out of the spotlight for some time, his return feels strategic. Lily, in particular, is torn. She knows Kane better than anyone, and a part of her wants to believe he's not capable of going down a dark path again. But the glint in his eyes tells a different story, a story of revenge, ambition, and unfinished business. Meanwhile, Phyllis thrives in chaos. She's been maneuvering her way back into power after a string of personal and professional disasters. Aligning with Kane gives her leverage she hasn't had in a long time. Together, they've started laying groundwork in subtle ways, securing key contacts, gathering information, and testing their influence in small but noticeable ways. A few well-placed leaks here, a strategically timed rumor there, and already the city is starting to fracture under the pressure of uncertainty. It's classic Phyllis. Shake the foundation first, then strike when everyone's defenses are lowered. The question now is, who will be their first target? Some insiders believe that their plan involves Chancellor Winters at its core. Kane's lingering ties to the company and his complicated relationship with Jill could give him access to sensitive information. Phyllis, with her sharp instincts, might see this as an opportunity to destabilize Billy's growing influence. If they can create division between Billy and Devon, it could leave the company vulnerable to an outside takeover, or at the very least, severely weaken its leadership. Another theory suggests they're eyeing Newman Enterprises, a far bolder move but one not entirely out of character for Phyllis. If she's discovered a secret or a leverage point within the Newman family, partnering with Kane might give her the resources to act on it. Then again, their plan could be something entirely unexpected. Both Kane and Phyllis are unpredictable on their own. Together, their motives are nearly impossible to decode. Whatever they're planning, it's clear that Genoa City is on the brink of major upheaval. Longtime residents can feel it in the air, that electric tension that precedes a storm. Alliances will be tested, secrets exposed, and no one will come out unscathed. Kane and Phyllis might not seem like the most obvious duo, but their shared ambition and cunning make them a force that could change everything. As continues to loom large, the power players of Genoa City are scrambling to figure out their next moves. Jack is quietly rallying his allies, determined not to let Phyllis pull another fast one. Victor Newman, ever the strategist, has his people digging for information on Kane's return, suspecting there's more to his sudden reappearance than meets the eye. Even Nikki and Victoria are on alert, wary of any potential disruption to Newman Enterprises' stability. Over at Chancellor Winters, tensions are rising as Billy and Devon debate how to handle Kane's proximity. Everyone is looking over their shoulder, waiting for the first shot to be fired. And through it all, Kane and Phyllis are watching, waiting, and smiling. They know the fear they're causing is part of the plan. The more unsettled everyone becomes, the easier it will be to strike when the moment is right. If history has taught Genoa City anything, it's that Phyllis Summers doesn't play by the rules, and Kane Ashby is no stranger to bending them either. Together, they could be the most dangerous alliance the city has seen in years, sparking a wave of terror that no one is truly prepared for.